Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Hi. All right, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Brittany Braxton, and I use she, her pronouns. And you're here today for Journaling as a Dev. Woo! We're going to talk about some notebooks. Awesome. So yeah, it's Brittany B. I am a software engineer at Adobo, which is a startup in Chicago. I am the chapter organizer of Write Speak Code in Chicago with a group of other amazing folks. And I'm also a chapter organizer of another meetup called People of Color Code. You may be asking yourself, like, why are we here today talking about journaling when we're at a technical conference? And I think the two biggest takeaways of why journaling is important is that it analyzes your progress as well as giving you the opportunity to reflect and process the journey. So one of the things I wanted to first talk about was some research about the importance of journaling, because this is a topic that is heavily researched. There is evidence that shows that it's beneficial. One of the first things to discuss is this article by Harvard Business Review, which discusses that journaling is really important for your leadership. It gives you time for reflection. It helps you to gain a unique perspective about what you're going through, and also it gives you the ability to have foresight, the ability to reflect and process empathy, as well as reflect on that anticipation about what's going to happen next. So a lot of my journaling, I would say, is heavily influenced by the bullet journal method. Anyone here, raise your hands, has heard of that concept before? Cool. Yeah, so the person who created the bullet journal method is Ryder Carroll. They recently did come out with a whole book about what is the bullet journal method. And so Ryder says that the bullet journal method is really important because it gives you the opportunity to check in with yourself and to be able to build a process of self-awareness. If we're able to write our thoughts and feelings and do this in a repeated fashion, we have a more and more increased awareness about who we are and where we're going. One of the great takeaway quotes I liked from the book was this. Ryder Carroll says, "It allows you to clearly see what the rush of life tends to obscure. You can track the decisions you've made and the actions that you've taken that led you to where you are. It encourages you to learn from your experiences." And we can also see that there is some trends, using Google Trends, with journaling. Looking at the past 5 years worldwide, the key term of journaling has increased a little bit over time. I think it's really funny because these peaks that you see, that's like right when New Year starts. So there is just this trend worldwide where people are like, yeah, the new year is starting up. I should really do something about this. Let me look into the stuff about journaling. And you know, some people tend to stick with it. Other people are just like, it just goes right back down. And then similar, with even more, search frequency is the concept of bullet journal. It's more of a recent thing, so it's much lower in like 2015, but it also has very similar peaks that jumps up throughout it. And you know, this is not something that's just confined to your professional life. Journaling is really available to any of your different realms. You can journal about your personal projects or your hobbies, such as you're painting, or you're playing video games, or you're meditating and doing yoga. Maybe you need to keep track and journal about your household events. How frequently am I cleaning my kitchen? Or maybe you have a very busy household with children and everyone has different events that you want to keep track of. Journaling is really important for that. Or maybe you have a pet journal for your Tamagotchi, or you teaching your cat how to write, or just keeping up to date with your dog's really cool mustache. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is about journaling by hand. There is research that shows that there is an advantage to journaling by hand over typing. When you're journaling by hand, you're allowed to slow things down a little bit and have more connections to your thoughts and your ideas, and things are synthesizing just a little bit more, like things are polishing a little bit more as that it's processing from your brain down to your hand. But when it comes to like journaling and typing by computer, people tend to type more in like the stream of consciousness of like you're almost like a stenographer in court. You're just typing everything, and then you look down and you're like, I've got like 8 pages. What is all of this? And then also what tends to happen is when people are journaling, they actually delete a lot more. So you're not really being very honest and synthesized with your thoughts. You're typing stuff and you're like, wait, no. And it just, it could be an hour later and then you actually have written nothing. So I definitely recommend considering doing it by hand first, but everyone really learns differently. And all of this is to say, all this research, all of what I'm saying so far is, the question I've been reflecting on is, how reflective are we as technologists? When it comes to us, what we're doing day to day, month to month, year to year, are we able to really slow things down and take a moment to say, like, am I really where I should be? Is this where I want to be today? We've had a couple of really awesome keynotes today that also touch on this idea of like, you can think about, where you want to be, or you may have like this belief that you're in the right place, but are you really certain about that? So this talk will present to you the idea of an analog methodology of documenting your daily, weekly, and monthly process at work, and the culmination of generating a low-energy performance review about your work. The same strategy gives you the opportunity to effectively track your goals, reflect on the highs and lows of your role, and more. So today we're going to go ahead and discuss how to get started, how to work with impact and purpose, how to track your accomplishments, and the specifics of goal setting and performance review, all in a really pretty journal. Or it can be whatever color, whatever. I usually make mine. So let's go ahead and let's first talk about my backstory about how I got here. Unfortunately, this GIF doesn't work, which is really sad. But just imagine my very cute cat Coltrane is just sitting here idly cleaning his paws, because there's really no good GIF for a backstory of what I'm about to say. So I've always had a notebook with me since high school and middle school. I was always seeing, with carrying around a sketchbook, I would usually spend most of my time in high school just like journaling or doodling. But when moving forward to when I was here in technology, I was recently in a really big company where it was very fast moving, and I took a lot of notes because everything was so new to me. I was learning about Java, I was learning about serverless applications, I was learning about APIs, I was learning React, I was learning continuous integration. It was everything. And so I just kind of like wrote down my notes of everything. Like, what am I working on today? What am I doing? How do I solve this? Have I seen this issue before? Who am I pairing with? I was just like, I feel like I need to just kind of keep track of all of this. But it turned out to be a really interesting thing to do, because when it came time to my end of the year performance reviews, I had like just a journal, an analog of everything I had done since then. And this was a big company, so they had a very intensive performance review where they wanted to see like everything that you have done, like all these really just like multiple mini like essays about like how your process has been. But it was really easy for me because I actually was able to just like look back through my journal and said, oh yeah, I remember like these are like different points about where I've shown my capabilities on this team. And it was really beneficial because my manager at the time said that I had given more information about my involvement and my role in the company than even the senior software engineers that were on my team. And I was an associate at the time, and so it felt really important to me because I really felt like I didn't know what I was doing, but I at least had some external validation to say, hey, you might have some good sauce going on with this. So I took a step back after hearing that and said, well, how am I learning? What's really effective about this? I identify as a person who really learns well with physical, kinesthetic elements, which is like why I really do enjoy writing physically. And then I also am a very visual learner, so I love to include color. I love to include sort of like icons or pictures to try to bring together technology concepts. So let's go ahead and talk about my setup, and then this will also be about how you can get started. So first we start off with the notebook. So these are my notebooks for the past 2 years. My current one is on the far right with the little Grace Hopper GitHub guy, GitHub little cartoon. And then you want to number your pages. Oh, this GIF doesn't work either. Okay. You want to number your pages. Just imagine it's like a flip book. I usually like to start off with like my even numbers because it's like I'm not going to sit and write like 200 pages. So I'll just do like 50 at a time, like evens. You want to write a table of contents. This is going to be really important. Rather than just like you're just writing in a notebook to write in a notebook, you want to put structure to it where you're actually like listing what are the big takeaways from what you have put in your journal. So here, I do apologize, this is a lot smaller than you might be able to see, but I put usually like my headlines are my months. I put any like readings that I'm doing. I put in any sort of like important like highlights of anything. And that way, like I have one place to actually look at it instead of like just trying to flip through all 200 pages. I'm like, okay, well, I just go to my table of contents first. And ultimately, you're going to look at it often. You're going to not be afraid to write things down because it's only for your eyes. And you're going to take time you would like to take time to reflect on this regularly. That's it. So thank you. Wait, just kidding. Do you actually want to see some more examples? Cool. Sorry. I'll stop. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the dailies of what I do is that I daily write about the high levels of what I'm working on. So when I sit down as a developer, I generally know what I'm going to be working on for the day. Either I'm taking a story or some sort of feature. I've already worked on it in the past, so I know what I'm doing. So I think about like my next tasks, and I usually try to write some sort of headline about where I'm going next with it. So like complete keywords without any deletion, code review. I'll just like write really high level things like that. And I usually try to write like some sort of like narration about like what am I getting with that. Weeklies are a little bit not really much of a thing. I will say I often get really inspired to start of a week and I'm like, I'm going to draw out a really pretty spread and it's just going to be great. I just like know everything that I'm doing, and I'm just going to start this week off with really good intention. And then I finish a week and why is it upside down? And then I finish the week and I'm just like, oh, I actually didn't do anything in these spreads. So I don't really find them too beneficial, to each your own. But I usually find more benefit with doing dailies or with monthly structures where I'm actually like drawing out a full calendar. I take in time to make space for writing about my goals. I make space for things to keep in mind about the future. And I also put space in for a monthly review. So this is like a one-stop place for me to think about like, okay, it's August, what am I doing? Every start of the week, I'm thinking, what am I about to get myself into? And so you may be asking yourself when I say like reviewing and reflecting, what is a journal retro? A lot of my inspiration right now with my journal retro comes from this Doist.com blog. Doist is a company that does a lot of really fun productivity tools. They have like Todoist and some other stuff. But they have a blog post that talks about like sitting down to do a weekly review, And one of the biggest takeaways I got from it was you should have like a set of questions that you should be asking yourself each week. So some of the questions that I ask myself right now are these down the right, where it's how did I do this past week? How is my ability to focus? Has anything stopped me from reaching my goals? How can I improve for next week? What can I celebrate? And are there any action items out of any of this? And so I say it's a retro because it kind of feels a little bit similar to how I do a retro with my team. But this is definitely just for my personal self. So an example of my weekly retro, I'll put in a schedule on my calendar where it's just a private event. I set it for an hour, and I have like this little like table of contents that I've taped on the front of my journal. So when I sit down to actually write, I already have my questions available. I don't have to like go hunting through different parts of my journal and be able to just go ahead and write those out. For my monthly retros, it's kind of a similar process. In addition, I'll do like some sort of checklist, so kind of like get myself ready for the next month. I'll review my 90-day goals, which I will talk in a moment about. I will draw my next month's spread, and I will answer these questions. So here is an example of what my monthly retro looks like. I've got some of the questions on the side. I haven't filled those out yet. And yeah, this is something that just constantly continues to evolve. What I'm doing right now is totally different than what I've done 6 months ago or a year ago. So goal setting, let's go ahead and talk about goal setting. So a lot of my goal settings right now comes inspired by this one particular person's goal planner called Cassandra Macy. She has a 90-day goal planner. You can purchase it and it comes in a PDF. I don't print off the PDF, but I usually just like adapt what I see in her planner and make it my own. But it's a really cool planner. I do recommend checking it out. Some of the takeaways that she has for it is that you should have a day of goal reflection. Your goal shouldn't be something that you just kind of like spit out like on the fly, like in 5 minutes, and like, haha, that's what I'm going to do for the next 90 days. You really want to kind of like have it like a self-care kind of day. Like she even encourages like go and like rent a hotel room, do some yoga, go get a massage, like just whatever you can do to kind of get yourself being like really intentionally reflective. And yeah, you want to rewrite your goals and then prioritize them. Don't like just write something out and like it doesn't have to be like so solid. Like you can just do something really silly and then go back and actually say like, okay, this makes more sense for me to do. And why? I apologize for that formatting. So you may ask, why am I doing 90 days? Why not 30 days or 120 days? And I felt like 90 days is a short enough of a long time. It's enough for me to keep track with my team in accordance to like our epics and how we plan our productivity. And then also, things are always evolving. So adapted from Cassandra Macy's planner, I write down my growth areas of how I want to focus at work on what I'm doing. So right now I do a lot of Java, React, JavaScript, and so like pretty much my full tech stack is on the right for like where I want to focus. And then I do like a goal dump, which is essentially just me free writing like things that I would like to do. Maybe some of it is just like total moonshot. Some of it's definitely a lot doable. And then I draw out a spread that is my goal achieving plan, where I start off with writing a SMART goal. I emphasize with my why. I focus on the personal growth area, and I say when I'm going to start and when do I want to finish this by. So I'm just finishing up with my 90-day goals, and I'm really excited because I fucking crushed this one. I did that in actually 60 days, so I felt really good, and I had something to really continue to talk about with my manager about. So all of this, you're taking time to make big dreams, making them into really small, bite-sized realities, and just reflecting on them step by step. And as you're doing this, the season will pass and change, and eventually you're going to get to a point where there's a performance review. The performance review, the performance review is going to be really different for everyone, but what I gather is that it's going to be something about you talking about what you did in the past year and why is it relevant, right? Well, now you can actually look back through your journal, through this structure, through this repetition, and be able to say, I actually know what I've done, and I can be very solid and confident in how I've achieved what I've done, either for me to just maintain my role, or me to get promoted, or for me to find like another kick-ass job. And however, you know, I do agree, like, performance reviews are really terribly run, and maybe this is not the most succinct for you. The expectations are veering also often. But maybe this is also just for you to be able to say, like, I have a greater personal discussion to have with myself. Like, why do I want to go through a performance review with this company? Why do I want to be with this company? Maybe I want to leave. So you may be asking yourself, like, do I just keep writing about my radness again and again and again? Yeah, and yeah, it's just going to be like a culmination of a lot of things, your thoughts, your emotions, anything that's negative about today, write about it. Like, take a look back and see, like, why am I always angry when I pair with this person? It might be something even greater. And like I said, it's for your eyes only. You may not have anyone else look at it. Sorry. I've tapped into my learning strategies by being able to do this. So take a moment to reflect about, like, how do you learn best? Maybe a journal like this is not necessarily how you learn best, but yeah. Don't do what you see on Instagram and Pinterest. I saw a lot of people raise their hand about bullet journals. Do not just search bullet journals and copy that. It's cool to have, like, inspiration for pretty stuff, but that's not ultimately the goal of all of this. If you do want some examples of some cool pieces of information, please check out a couple of these different blogs, or even just Ryder Carroll's book. And if you feel really glum about dead trees, then please check out some of these different digital journaling tools. Trello actually has like a whole article about how to use Trello for bullet journaling, which I thought was cool. And yeah, you want it to make sure it's highly customizable and highly available. That's really the ultimate thing. And so you may be asking yourself still, like, how do I get started with bullet journaling? If you have any of these questions of you need a reminder of how necessary you are, you don't know what you've done in the last 6 to 12 months, or you're trying to jump into a new field, maybe you should try bullet journaling, or journaling as a dev. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I have lots of inspiration of what I can potentially write on now. There is